Welcome back. It is episode 134. I'm your host, Jacob Harris, and this podcast is brought to you by Achievement Apex, Powerpit Rockingham, Rockingham Supplement Mart, Thirst Trap, Bulk Gym Chalk, and Pet Test Australia. Today I'm joined by Giorgio Savini, who you may have seen on the Kick It Forward pages and the podcast as well. Thank you for being here, man.
My pleasure. I feel like I'm the least qualified person on this pod ever, having gone through a few of your apps, and a lot of people that know a lot of things on your apps, and I'm not one of them, I don't think.
I think you know things. You know things about other things. You know
other things, yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. I mean, if people that aren't familiar with you, like, I guess, would you refer to yourself as a comedian? I would.
I suppose like we're a group of comedians. I suppose it's a better way of, I prefer it to influencer. Like Gabby, my girlfriend, tries to call me an influencer, and for some reason, like I'm just so triggered by that. I hate that. But yeah, I suppose we're like online comedians. Yeah.
Is it something you ever considered before? Like, obviously we can get into a little bit about like you and Josh and Harold on that, but like, is comedy something you're into as a person?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think it'd be hard to get into something like what we do, online content, without having some kind of interest in like, God, that's, having those thoughts like, God, that's like a funny thing I'd love to expand on, or making people laugh is always, I don't know. Yeah, not a passion, but like I've always enjoyed that element of it and finding creative ways to do it, for sure.
So like maybe say something like a simple stand-up comedy. Like, is that something that you watch regularly?
Probably not as much as like other people that, religiously watch comedians have their favorite. I wouldn't say any more than the usual person, but I think it's probably like a passion in like, the creative element to it as well. Bit of a combination of like interest in comedy and creativity and that kind of like filmmaking side of things, and taking the piss, I think is ingrained in me a little bit as well.
You're pretty into like filmmaking then? So like, is that something like, because for me, I get people on here all the time, and obviously like you said, you're like, oh, you speak to people who do things. Funnily enough, some of the people I speak to only do one thing. And so sometimes it'll be like, maybe they're a weightlifter or something, and I'm like, oh, what movies do you watch? I don't watch movies. I'm like, what music do you listen to? I don't really listen to music. And then I struggle with that, because that stuff's like, to me, what a person usually does. So like, are you super into movies?
Not like the technical side of things, but I suppose we got into it naturally because Josh and I did like a broadcasting course together. So we got into kind of making videos through that, kind of through like the avenue of media, that kind of side of it. Less so much like technical films. I don't think I'm very skilled in that regard, but like I can operate a camera, but I never had that like, Martin Scorsese vision by any standards. But but I like a bit of a combination of like comedy on film, I think, is probably the closest way of putting it.
So if you to put it in perspective, I guess, so for me to kind of understand maybe some inspiration, like, do you have like a comedy film of all time that is like, you would say you're almost inspired by it?
Oh, that's a good question. A comedy film, like I used to watch Lane on Woodley growing up. And do you know Lane on Woodley?
I don't know why.
Oh, it's like an old Australian comedic duo. And I would just fucking wet myself at these two, like slapstick comedy, very like Australian, but also like, like Skit House,
Yeah.
Shit like that, like the Australian comedy scene, like Little Britain, stuff like that, where you just like, you have a little idea and you kind of like, it's really fun, like having an idea and bringing it to the board and kind of like making a video about it. Does that answer the question? Probably not.
It does.
Favorite comedy movie of all time? I don't know. Fuck. But yeah, there's definitely shows that come to mind where I'm like, God, I love that. Like, that's so funny, and I can see myself doing it.
Yeah. But Skit House, like skit comedy,
definitely
like what you're referring. And I think like Skit House, I remember trying to like, because I brought it up once, and I was talking to someone, and they just couldn't no, I don't. And I'm like, how the fuck don't you remember? It was on TV like everywhere. And for some reason, the thing that I always remembered in my head was Peter Hellier. He played the guy that didn't like beer, but would drink beer at parties with his mates. And it was about the guy who like, he didn't want to admit that he didn't like it as a dude. But he would like, as he was drinking it, it would just fucking go all over him, but no one would notice. Yeah. And it was such a weird, silly joke. But back then I felt like it was maybe the only thing you saw on TV that were willing to like put production behind something so, I don't know if trivial is the right word, but such a silly, small concept, which is kind of what you're talking about with these videos, because you guys are just sitting there, I'm assuming, and then you come up with an idea and turn it into something where sometimes comedies, I think maybe what I'm getting at is comedy movies these days feel like they need to fill the film with a whole bunch of other shit that actually brings the film down. Like,
sure.
You know what I mean? Like they try to have like too much of a storyline and too much like emotional, like family building, when sometimes just straightforward dumb shit is what we kind of all liked. Like movies like Old School or something like that, where they were just kind of like funny every couple of minutes, and they didn't like, if you were to look at it from a realism perspective, it was silly, right? There's no way families would operate like that.
100%.
You know?
Well, I mean, I suppose there's, you know, it's a 90-minute film. There needs to be some kind of narrative, I guess. But like, man, like on those, like it's pretty hard to make those films now, apparently. On a side note, like budgets for films like Old School, Super Bad, like they don't really exist anymore. Like you either have like a lot of the film industries now, a lot of it is like, you know, like independent films on low budgets or mega budgets like your Avengers and shit like that and your Dune films. So it's actually, there's a weird like void in those films now, I find. Like how, like when was the last time a movie like Superbad came out?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the way they were made was different.
Yeah.
I felt like, and a lot of the like, I don't know if maybe the cast gelled better, but there was something about that too. Sometimes I feel like when people are in movies together now that it's like I can see them acting, you know, like the like, and it's like you can tell they're not really friends. Where in Superbad, like those three dudes seemed like they actually hung out, and then
well, they also seemed like they were playing the characters that they looked like they would play, if that makes sense. Like, you're like, that doesn't look like that's far away from their real person off camera, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And like, I suppose with you guys, when you do the clips that you do, it's like similar in a sense, right? Because you're not trying to act like someone that you're not. Like you obviously are to an extent, but like
totally,
you're not trying to be a complete different character. It's like when they get like a bodybuilder or a massive big dude in a film and then he does stuff silly. And you're I should be taking him seriously, but he's silly. And it's like their way of trying to break this character.
Yeah, 100%. Like, at least on our part, like we have like similar roles that we're suited to that, you know, probably subconsciously we are more like that in real life. And pains me to say it because I'm normally the annoying fuckwit in our skits, but take what you will from that. Hopefully I'm not as an annoying fuckwit in real life, but there's probably something in that for sure. But there's also like being able to play someone completely different is like, it's such a different skill as well. Like not being able to rely on your own personality to play someone. That's probably where like real acting comes in. But yeah, I don't know. We play around a bit and it's funny, like normally when we write a skit, we know who's going to be playing what role. Like we just know straight away, like, oh, you're obviously like this person, like, oh, you're this person, which is funny because, I don't know, maybe we do it enough times and kind of figure out like what role's what.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask. Like, do you remember when you did the first one and like how did it like come out of a thing like, oh, let's film a video?
Oh, so it would have been like COVID. Josh kind of made like a couple funny bits and pieces and I was like, oh man, like I've got this funny idea. And he was using me as like another actor in it. And then we kind of started like fucking around with like in COVID. And I think the first time I probably remember that people actually viewed and I was like, whoa, people actually like watched this, was like taking the piss out of Perth winter. And it was like so basic. It was just like two dudes in Perth winter, but it's sunny and beautiful wearing puffer jackets. And we're like, winter, am I right? And he's like, am I right? And it's like super basic, but is that like we were talking about before off the pod, but like, you know, that element of relating to it and people being like, oh my God, that's so-and-so. He wears a puffer jacket in winter, even though it's 28 degrees. Or like, oh, I'm going to send this to my mate in Melbourne who doesn't know that Perth is sunny every day in winter. But yeah, I think it was around then. And then Josh was doing a couple with Harry at the same time. They were like KFC skits, which had a bit more like substance to them. But yeah, probably, yeah, like 3.5, 4 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
When we first started.
And when like, was there just one that blew up nuts? And is that when you like decided to take it more serious or?
I think the ones that put us on the map a little bit were our pitches to get the grand final to WA when they realized it wasn't going to be able to be played at the MCG. So we did this big like video pitch to like the AFL and Gil McLachlan, and the whole thing was a piss take. And that kind of put us on the map a little bit, I reckon. Like people got around that. But it's hard to really pinpoint. Like it's been pretty slow kind of drip feed of videos. Like there hasn't been one thing that's really blown up for us where we went from, 0 to 100K followers or anything like that. I
think I remember the Marketplace one. That's the first one I saw.
Yeah, that'd be around the time where we started like actually making them, us three getting together like once a week or once a fortnight with ideas and putting shit together. And I guess like Josh's editing skills are elite, and like that kind of that helped a lot, having him edit them to create like the comedy through the editing, which is so challenging, and he's a gun at it. So
yeah, it seems to be like the biggest part, right? Because you could all it takes is leaving a second in or using the wrong angle or something, and then all of a sudden the video just comes across like really awkward.
For sure. Yeah, a lot of it comes, at least our style, like a lot of the gags are based around how it's edited and kind of the imagery, but not to say like you don't, if you look at like the Fairbairn guys, like that's just like two dudes close up on camera and they're fucking hilarious and there's like no editing involved and they're like brilliant at what they do and they don't need the editing side. But yeah, I think Josh has just got so good at it and it adds another level of humor. We have had like people say like, fucking hell, like, man, the way your videos are edited, like they're so funny, they're so quick. And like, I suppose you're like fighting for attention spans as well. So you just got to be like, you should see him edit. Like he's a bit of a maniac and it's like so ruthless, but it's just like a quarter of a second taken off there, a fifth of a second taken off there. And like put those in together, like say that quicker. And it's just like, it's pretty mad.
Yeah, it's pretty sick though. Like I love the idea of it because once again, people, and especially people listening to this, are going to be able to be like, are they getting an insight into it that, you only know what's in your head, right? You're always going to think like, oh, this is how these guys must do it. And so I guess like if you could not like take us through it, but say like a concept comes up and you were doing it, like, are you guys fucking losing it when you're doing it? Or are you guys so used to it now that you just like, what you want done, so you just focused on it?
Oh, we're pretty focused when we're doing it. Like we just want to get it done. We get the giggles sometimes though. Like, yeah, no, like it's always like good fun and good natured. And I think like, I don't know, if you're not having fun, like it's probably not going to be a very good skit, but at least like, so I don't know if you want to know about the process, but like we'll pitch an idea. Hey guys, do you think there's something in like this, or do you think there's something in this? And we go, oh yeah, it's pretty good. Like, and then we'll start writing a script rather, and flesh it out. And then like now when we go in to film something, like we have a full script with lines. We know what we're doing. Have an idea of what it's going to look like, the ending. And then once we're filming, we might go throw in extra lines and shit like that. And, often you don't actually end up knowing what you're going to say until you're there doing it and you go, oh, what if I say this? What if I say this? And we end up with a whole bunch of options. And yeah, it derails and it gets, we end up pissing ourselves sometimes. The funniest ones are like when we're hungover. Like, that like dumb hungover humor where you just like, you're tired and just like, hung and everything's just fucking hilarious. And I feel like that's peak comedy for us. It's like that's when we're at our sketch comedy best, is when we're just like deathly hungover and everything's hilarious.
It makes kind of sense because you're in like a state when you're hungover and you almost kind of like give a little bit less of a fuck too, because like
Totally.
inhibitions are gone, and that's why you can be, I don't know.
Yeah.
As human beings, it's funny because we'll do anything but try to actually, when you're sad, you won't listen to a happy song. You'll listen to a sad one, right? It's like that's what people do when they do stuff like that. So it's the same sort of thing. When you're hungover, you know that like eating something good would make you feel better, but you want something shit and you eat something shit.
Exactly.
So you kind of lean into the way you're feeling.
Yeah.
So the hangover, like I don't give a fuck thing, like now that you say it, I'm like, that would make total sense. That
It's a mental state where you just like, fuck it. What about this? And we're all just like losing it laughing. It's funny to us. It's probably not very funny to anyone else though.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. How does it affect the people around you? Like, you know, like we obviously you've probably, I know some of you've had partners and stuff like that. Like, is your missus just think it's like weird, or at first was she like, what the fuck?
For sure. She finds it very weird. I don't know. It's been so like gradual, and it's got to this point where like, yeah, she's pretty weirded out by it, but like, I don't know. I'm not someone that like, it doesn't really like change who I am or anything. And
yeah,
obviously I've been with Gabby for like 5 years. So I was with her when we weren't doing anything, and she's kind of seen it grow the whole way, and she's like super proud and like loves it. But sometimes she can definitely be a bit like, oh man, this is fucking annoying that,
so do you show her when you do them?
Yeah, she loves it. She's super supportive, like thinks we're like fucking hilarious and like gets around it all the time. But certainly finds it like weird that people might, I don't know, come up to us in a bar and be like, oh, I listen to your podcast, or like, oh, can we get a photo with you three and shit like that. She's just like, yeah, it's weird for sure. It's weird for me.
Does it happen often?
If the three of us are together, like for sure. Yeah, if the three of us, it would happen to Josh like a lot more than it does to me and Harry. And then normally, I don't know, sometimes if I'm just out, I can not sounding like arrogant or anything, but like I can tell someone recognizes me. Maybe they don't know exactly where from, but they'll just have this like dumb blank look on their face where they're trying to figure out where they know me from, or maybe they do know me from the skits and the videos, and they're just like, fuck it, I don't. Rightfully so. They're like, oh, I recognize him from those videos, but I don't really care enough to go say hi or get a photo or anything. Yeah, like for example, we were just in Gather Round Adelaide doing footy stuff, and it's like that's like our direct audience is like young people into footy, so it goes like a bit bonkers there. Like you're walking around the footy ground and people are just like coming up, and it's a bit nuts. It's also like when people drink and they're like, you know, a bit more relaxed, and they'll come up to you if they're drunk, but they probably wouldn't if they were sober. The funny thing I find is people get photos, and I'm always like, what are you gonna do with that? Who are you gonna show? Like, look at these, like, oh, look, I got a photo with these guys on Instagram. I think it's just this, like, it's this hilarious, and I would do it too with like someone famous, but it's this default, like, I don't know what to do, I'll get a photo. But really, what are you gonna do with it?
Yeah,
it's like
just tell someone that you got a photo. Like, just tell someone that you met.
Oh, I met this person. Yeah. I got a photo. Like, oh, sick. I remember doing it with Louis C.K. Do you know the comedian Louis C.K.?
Yeah, man, that's awesome. You met him.
I felt like such a fucking idiot because we're in Northbridge, and I was going to his show in 2 hours, and I just instinctively I like walked past him, and I was like, Louis, can I get a photo? And he was like, yeah, sure, man. And I was like, now I've got this photo of me and Louis C.K. I'm like, what the fuck do I do with that? Yeah. It's worthless. It's meaningless. I don't need to prove to anyone that I met him, but now I have this photo, and I think it's this like default thing with like celebrities people do. And I kind of get it with like major celebrities, but at the same time, like, do you really want a photo with us? Like, or do you just not know what else to do?
Yeah, like you could have just like had a conversation with me, like, man, I love your comedy.
Yeah, and normally they do, and they're like, all right, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm overthinking it, and people do actually show their friends, but like,
I know what you mean. It's funny though, because I did it with someone literally before this. Just a guy I ran into at the comedy and seen each other a while. I was like, oh, I'm about to go to a podcast. And he was like, oh yeah, cool. He like didn't even ask who, but I was excited about it because I was like, oh yeah, I just sent it to my missus and that. And she was like, I hope it goes really well. And I showed him and I was like, oh, do you know these guys? And he looked at the video of you and Josh and he's like, oh, no, I think I've seen the tall guy before. And it was super underwhelming because then I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing a podcast with the other guy. And he was like, cool, man.
See the guy that isn't him? Yeah, I'm doing a pod with him. Man, I did try to tell you, I'm the least qualified on this pod.
Yeah, but it was just like, it was exactly what you're saying, but like an even like a funny reaction to it. Because it was had someone have known who you are, it would have been different. And there could have been 10 people in the building that did. I just happened to approach the wrong dude. But he's into this sort of humor. So like, that's the other thing too. Like, and you would get that, right? Like, I don't know if you've got mates who maybe like don't fuck with it or whatever, but in the industry I'm in, there's a lot of people who just they cool people, but they're just very like, nah, like they don't really. Yeah, I've seen them laugh like twice since I met him, and I've known him for 6 years. You know, just chilled people who just aren't really that into comedy. And so I don't know if you have anyone like, do you have any like family members or anything who just like don't fuck with what you do, or just like think it's silly or?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I not think it's silly, but like they probably don't like understand it or get into it. Heaps of mates that just like they don't mind it, but like they're just so it depends very heavily like whether you're on social media or not. Like I have some people that just like would have no clue like who any of the people we work with or make videos with are, or like, you know, that kind of community. So I think it relies heavily on how much you're into social media. Yeah.
I mean, I do my best work on the toilet.
Yeah, okay.
You know, that's when you're really scrolling.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that kind of work. Okay. I thought you were like bragging about how good you are at shitting. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Here's the thing, I'm not bad at it. Like I'd be better than the average bloke, I reckon.
You reckon?
Yeah. I reckon like, I don't know, like define good. You know what I mean? Because I feel like speed doesn't define good.
No, fuck no.
But then like does cleanliness define good? You know what I mean?
I reckon.
Does it need to be a clean snap, or like what if you do a real bang up job?
Well, yeah, I'd say quality over quantity for sure.
Yeah, but I feel like if you kind of graph it, it's almost like someone sees your work when they if someone goes to the toilet, you ever have that? Someone goes to the toilet and they're like, oh fuck, like did a fucking number in here. That's the gratitude. You know, you're like, yeah, well that's how it's done. You know what I mean? Like that's being good at it. If we were talking on a scale of good, you know, or is it good to be a ninja where someone thinks you weren't in there at all?
I mean, you need to rely on those skills sometimes if you're at a house party or something. I'm so glad it's deteriorated to this. This is my niche, is literally talking shit.
This is good because it can go a lot further, because I'm going to bring up my brother because he will listen to this one and he will love this, because he's actually got a mate who wants to come on the podcast specifically to talk about a topic that apparently is this guy's, you know, his niche. So were you aware that there's a large part of the population that wipe their ass standing versus sitting?
Fuck, I've had this conversation with friends.
Have you actually? Okay.
Yeah, and it's always like, you're always like, wait, like, oh, you do it standing up, and they're like, wait, you do it sitting down? Because it's like, it's all they've ever known, and at least among my mates, we don't normally watch each other shit. So are you a stander or a sitter?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, here's the thing, right? I spent quite a few years standing. And then I started sitting, and now I'm like a hybrid. I'm like a hybrid.
Just whatever you're feeling on the day.
So
just zag one way, and you're like, oh, you know what? I don't want to get up today. I did legs yesterday. I'm sore.
Sometimes, like, it depends on the situation. Like, I feel like sometimes I can't quite finish the job sitting down. Sometimes I almost have to do like the standing. It's like an ovation. It's like the end. You know what I mean? Like, and there's all different kinds of techniques. You know, you do like a clench and drop. You know what I mean, to really finish it off. Like, there's a few different techniques. But I mean, for me, I wasn't aware that there was such a big divide, and I didn't realize so many people didn't do it any other way.
Yeah, it 100%. And we had the same conversation with our mates. We had, you know, what's really funny is like, we had this massive divide in our mates group chat, and people were like, what the fuck? You're barbaric. Like, sit down. What are you doing standing up? And I was like, you know, I sit down, etc. And then one bloke just goes, oh yeah, you guys all wipe from the front, right? And I was just like, bro, what the fuck? Like, you put your hand like between like you get a little like dick wipe on the way to wiping your ass, and everyone was just like, no, mate, no, we don't. You're on your own here. Like fucking brick wall into the debate.
I'm so glad you brought this up because I was going to. Because I had a mate say the same thing to me. And I was like, so you go between your legs and wipe towards your balls. And he's like, yeah, bro, that's how to do it. And I was like, here's the thing, man. It fucking isn't. I was like,
Barbaric.
do you get shit all over your balls? And he's like, no. And the way that he answered it was like I was an asshole for even thinking you could get shit on your balls. Like, why would you make the job that much harder on yourself? Like, I don't even understand that. Like, I just felt like, and then I can't remember what I did. I think I put up a poll or something. And then he was like a turtle. He was like, don't tell anyone that it was me. And I was like, but now I want to tell everyone.
It's like, I didn't know this was such a literal dirty secret.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's a funny, once again, it's that trivial thing of like, you know, no one talked about it. And I guess, yeah, why would you talk about it with someone else? So why would you do it? You know what I mean? But this is the whole like folding, scrunching thing. Like to me,
that's more like commonly spoken about, I reckon.
Oh, this is less for sure. But like I've always found it funny. Like, why would I fold it? Like I'm going to wipe my ass with it. I don't, why do I need to like, look, I get it from a perspective of maybe like logistics, like maybe you would use less or something, but scrunching just, maybe I'm a barbarian. I don't know.
I'm a folder, through and through.
You kind of give off folder vibes.
Folder vibes, all right.
Yeah.
I'll take that. Actually, I won't.
It's good.
Okay.
Good. It's a good thing.
Scruncher, all right. I don't know if I can be in the same room as you anymore.
Yeah, to be fair, I could kind of understand it because it's one of those things that really defines someone as a person. Like at that point, you know what I mean? Like, and you were, we didn't even ask you, are you a sitter or a stander?
I sit, yeah. There's this old sitting lane.
That's normal. I feel like, yeah, the standing thing really caught me off guard. Hey, I was like, fuck, like, I don't know why have I been doing this for so long and like not noticed? And there was little things, I think, and then I had one of those like kind of what we were doing before, like epiphanies where I'd think back to certain things and times that I had conversations where I was like, yeah, well, I was telling someone like, yeah, I was fucking, oh man, I'll be at, like living with people and then they'll hear like a noise and be like, oh, you're right. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I almost fell over. And then people are like, almost fell over in the toilet, dickhead. Like, how'd you do that? Like, fuck, it's because I was standing.
So I was standing there because you're what?
Yeah.
And then you're like, why do I stand? Is it because my parents divorced and dad stood up to leave and I never recovered from that properly? And
yeah.
Or maybe it's just because I don't want to lean on my left ass cheek because there was always piss on that side of the toilet seat, you know?
It could go that deep.
I don't know.
Like you could have a really, like, I never really thought about it from that perspective, but like, I mean, there's definitely, maybe it's more like I feel like I need to dig deeper to really feel like I've achieved the goal because I'm not trusting enough to just wipe from behind sitting down and hope for the best. Maybe I really need to feel like, the entire mission's completed.
This is deep. Well, hey, good on you for opening up. Good on you for realizing that.
I wouldn't if, someone like you, wasn't really giving me the opportunity to.
I'm an avenue, okay? You know what else is a massive divide in our friendship group is chicken versus cheese twisties.
Fuck yeah, I like that.
So I'm staunch cheese twisties, and it's just got to the point where like the cheese versus chicken debate, like where it's just we're like hurling abuse at one another. Like you're a fucking tasteless moron who doesn't have, you have the tasting palate of a 6-year-old. Like grow up, chicken's the real flavor. It's the OG flavor. You're a child.
Yeah, I actually strongly agree with that stance too because I fucked with chicken when I was a kid and I haven't touched it since, and cheese all the way. And I don't know if I'm going to lose you here, but I actually, for a period of time between maybe 2004 and 2012 where I smoked bongs exclusively, I loved zigzag twisties.
Fuck, they were good, the cheddar ones.
Yeah, bro.
They were elite.
They slapped, man.
I used to get them in a choc milk after like soccer training and I was just like, just have this like, it's like this like bright orange like crumb on your fingers, and you're just like, these are so fucking good. They're like, I always think about those come close to like, what's the least food, like what is marketed as an edible product, but is so far from like God's original fucking creation of food. Skittles is close. My mind goes to like a gummy pizza. Oh. It's like this is so far. Like, yes, it's a food, it's an edible thing, but like we have strayed so far from God's light with this fucking abomination of a gummy pizza. Like a pizza in itself is like an amalgamation of like cooking different shit and a whole bunch of ingredients. You've taken that product and like reduced it even further to a novelty gummy like thing that looks like it. Oh, blows my mind. Skittles is great though. Like Skittles is so far from a food.
I think the CDC released a thing about it. I have to try and see if I can find it. I'm pretty sure someone was telling me that they released a thing about it not being a food because it contains like heavy metals. And you know what I thought as soon as they said it is like, I could fucking destroy some sour Skittles right now.
Yeah. Doctor's like, I cannot stress this enough. If you eat this, you will die. And I was just like, yo, the watermelon sour I fuck with. Like, I'm going to eat that. And it's just like.
Straight up with the fruit chews. Remember them? The Starburst ones, the square things in the wrappers.
Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah.
Like someone's like, dude, it's literally like chewy chemicals. And you're like, yeah, but if you fucking had the red ones, they slap.
This is so far from the original fruit of cherry flavor that it is based on. It's ridiculous.
Dude, if you want to go down that route, all right, and I mean, quick side note, I just want to point out the fact that you were pumping zigzag twisties and choc milks explains why you're a folder. You might as well, like, you needed a fucking tarp down there after that combo. But bouncing straight off that, the grape flavored things never taste like the fucking fruit grape.
Don't take. Yeah. Okay. So
nothing
like,
does.
So like, what's the flavor fruit that tastes least like the fruit itself? Grape is a great one, actually. Yeah. That tastes nothing like grape. Nothing. I agree with that. It's like, it's a very unique artificial grape flavor that I feel like all the companies have agreed upon and just been like, all right, everyone, this is grape. When someone asks for grape flavored lollies, like, we're going with this flavor because they all taste the same, but none of them taste like grape.
Yeah, like Hubba Bubba. Everything's Hubba Bubba grape, not real normal grape.
Yeah, I'm into that. And then, like, you know, mango tastes like somewhat like mango, and there's a orange resemblance of the fruit itself. That's great.
Strawberry. Strawberries are, you know, you probably get a lot of artificial like strawberry milk.
Doesn't taste like strawberry, you reckon? I reckon strawberry milk tastes like strawberry.
In your head it does. But when you think about it, it doesn't taste like a strawberry. Like there's a hint of it.
Fair, but I reckon if you got
milk and strawberries.
I reckon if you got a Ninja blender and blasted some milk and strawberries, you'd be like on the same path as a master strawberry milk. I don't know why the fuck you'd be drinking it over a chalky milk personally, but that's just me.
I'd have to try that. That's what's your okay. So what's your go-to beverage then? Because I'm pretty mad about them.
Need more context.
Okay,
give me a situation?
Non-alcoholic. It's between essentially fruit juice and maybe soft drink. And I'll give you a situation. You've not had enough water that day, and rather than hydrating yourself because you've been in the sun, which would be much more effective, someone's got a cooler at maybe a football game full of either of those things.
Okay, so like water, not an option. I'm like, fuck water.
Water's what you should have, but you know that it's going to be...
Coke Zero. I'm reaching for a Coke Zero.
You're a piece of shit.
I had one. I had one like 2 hours before this. I fuck with Coke Zero.
Coke no sugar.
Yeah, same, right?
Oh, okay, yeah, but it's different because then they have like Diet Coke now, and then like all these other.
No, Diet Coke tastes like shit.
Yeah, for sure.
Diet Coke tastes like nothing.
So Coke no sugar is like the elite for you.
Yeah, I love a Coke no sugar. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You also like? I like a big pint of cold milk. I'm a milk drinker. I will slam a pint of full cream milk.
Really?
Yep. Love it.
Okay. Is that where do you think that comes from? Is that like maybe was that like an abandonment issue from
Parents
when you
divorce.
were younger? Oh,
No, I'm joking. No, they're fine.
Yeah. You stopped breastfeeding early, maybe?
Yeah, I used to fuck cows when I was a kid. Really got into cows. No, I don't know. We always had full cream milk growing up, and I just like come home from sport and be like, "Fuck water, give me that moo juice."
Moo juice.
Yeah, give me that. Give me that full cream, big pint with ice, moo juice.
You ever had any moo juice dreams? Because you did mention the fucking cows thing and sort of played it off, but I'm starting to wonder.
Nah. Why dream it when I can just have moo juice in real life? It's reality.
Experience it, yeah.
Yep.
Do you think there's any difference between like Woolworths milk or like, you know, like A2 fucking full cream milk?
Oh, I don't know about the A2 stuff. I think they're different, but I think there's only like one dairy farm in WA, so all the cows come from the same place. Like your Browns, your Woolies, your Coles, they're all the same cows.
Don't they have like, isn't some of the milk like imported though? Like the really cheap stuff?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I would have.
Because there's like, because, you know, do you have,
I'm out of my depths here.
True blue like people, because we get a lot of it. Like, right, I work obviously at like a vape shop now. Everybody knows it's all out now. We work at a vape shop, so we get some like really true blue people that come in that just lose it. Like, you know what I mean? Like you'll pay with some cash or they'll pay with some cash or something, and you're like, oh yeah, cool. And you're like, oh, you don't see that often, because they'll give you like 100 or something, and they'll go, yeah, it's fucking bullshit, isn't it? It's fucking trying to control everything, and they're the same people who in those conversations will buy like the WA milk and be like, no, that other shit is like Asian imported milk.
Fuck, imagine being. I wish I was that passionate about anything.
You're not passionate about. Well,
no, I'm passionate about stuff, but like, I wish I cared that much about where my fucking paying with cash.
Yeah,
you know, paying with cash. We did a skit once, on the bloke like, oh, your mate who still carries cash, and everyone's like, the skit was like, someone tries to pay someone back with a $20 note or a $50 note, and people like losing their minds and like, why the fuck would I want cash, mate? Because it's like, for us at least, and for me, I'm like, oh man, if I feel like I've cash, like it's not real money to me. I've already spent it, unless it's like the numbers in my account. Yeah. And maybe people are going to hate me for this because they hated us in the comments. Everyone was like, you're a fucking government shield. Like, cash is king. Fuck a cashless society. Like, do you like really? Okay. Like, if that is cash is a hill that a lot of people are willing to die on.
It's hard to say this because it's being recorded, but as someone who's used to deal a bit of drugs when I was younger, and then also have done a fair few jobs where I just got paid cash and never declared it to the government. I don't know if they can catch me now. I'm pretty sure there's like a 5-year like limitation. So good luck with it. But I like that side of it.
You got a soft spot for cash.
I always spent it because I had a mate who I worked with a guy, and he was like a PT, and he was storing it in a shoebox, and he had like $5.5 grand, and we were like, what are you going to do with that in the end?
Is he Italian?
He wasn't Italian, but I mean, there was something going on, and we were like, what, like, why? Because now it's awkward, because now you're going to have to try and go and bank that, and they're going to be like, where the fuck is this from? And you've got to provide question, because it's so much money. You've saved too much. Where to me, if I was to get cash for something, I'll put fuel in my car.
Yeah, 100%.
I'll spend, you know, or I'll buy other drugs with it, right? You know, like I recycle the drug money.
There's a law, like bank tellers, when you deposit a certain amount of cash, legally have to ask you why you have that cash. They don't, but like that's where this kind of like law stops. They don't need to do, or they won't do anything about it, regardless of your answer. So there was like a viral video that went round of this Aussie guy going to banks, depositing $5 grand, and the teller would be like, oh, where'd you get this cash from? Or they'd be like, what's this cash being used for? And he'd literally look them in the eyes and go, dealing drugs. And they would just like blank face, be like, okay, like they don't do anything about it. But there's some weird legal requirement for them to ask what you're going to do with it.
Wow.
Like when we did a reno, and I was withdrawing like, you know, $5 grand cash to pay tradies, and they'd be like, what's this for? And I'm like, I wanted to be like, it's actually for none of your fucking business. It's my money. Give it to me. But I was just like, paying tradies. They'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, wow.
Very weird.
There's a lot of weird laws like that are kind of confusing. Like, and like I'm, at the moment, we're going through this thing because all these laws have come up and like videos on TikTok, and they're like, if you have a vape, they can charge you $4,500 just for having one, and it's in like Sydney and stuff. Nothing ever happens here, and they're like, oh, how do they police that? And I couldn't help but like laugh at the situation of just imagining like an actual cop just smelling like strawberry watermelon bubble gum and like turning to someone and being like,
Hey.
What the fuck is that? You know what I mean? Give me that shit. You know what I mean? Like it's just and
training sniffer dogs.
100%.
It's like follow the vape.
All of a sudden the dogs are like addicted to vaping because like all they can do is try and smell it. Like I'm just like, how do you police that? It seems so awkward. I only just found out the other day they have a speed limit, which makes sense, and I feel like I should have known that. But my brother has like a mate who got done for it and now doesn't have a license as a cop, and he can't drive cop cars because he drives.
Wait, a speed limit? What do you mean?
So if they're in a police chase, they can only go over a certain period. They can only go a certain speed because.
Certain. I used to work in media for a police force.
Okay.
So I know a few bits and pieces, but certain cars have different classifications. So if there's a chase and you're in the wrong kind of car, legally unsafe to chase. But like each of the police cars have different classes that allows them to engage in certain chases. Yeah, some cars do have a speed limit. Like if they're not the class A or whatever that's allowed to chase someone, yeah, there's definitely limitations, yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I just don't know why I never thought of it. Like because at some point, like if you're in a car and then police start chasing you, if you knew about it, you'd be like, fuck, as soon as we hit 140, this guy will give up anyway. Yeah.
You look at the car, you're like, well, that's a Hyundai Get, so I'm probably pretty safe. That thing's not going to get above 100. So,
well, I mean, yeah, just like, that dude's on a horse. I reckon I can probably get away from it. But I mean, it's just it's funny these weird laws that like just don't really get enforced or talked about. And so for me, it was just one of those things where when someone said that, I was like, I can't actually imagine that ever happening. And then, like at the same time, it's the same with like so many different things that we don't really consider. But at the same time, I work where we work. Josh made a joke about this the other day, so it was actually funny to mention. So I live in Rockingham, right?
Yeah.
And I think it was the Macca's one. He was like, "Do you regret opening one in Rockingham or something?" And I laughed, and I was just like, because I didn't realize that that's got the oldest McDonald's there.
In where?
In Rockingham, apparently, or
in WA.
It might be because apparently it's been there since like 1982 or something.
Whoa.
Yeah, which makes sense because it's a shithole. But I wasn't aware of that. But Rockingham, like, man, we'll be in the vape shop. It's in a kind of bad area. We'll be standing there like no one's come in, and we'll just see some guy bolt across the road with like a basket from Aldi, and there's shit just like falling out of it, and he's just like running.
Oh fuck!
And they'll just go in there and fill them up and run out. Like I went in there one day, and she was like, "Oh, you work across the road, hey?" And she's like, and I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Do you get some units in there?" And I was like, "I mean, it's a vape shop. We get some pretty hectic people." And she was like, "Oh," she goes, "It's here. It's insane." And I was like, "Do you get people like?" She's like, "Honestly, sometimes it's like 10 people a day. Just fill up trolleys and just run out.
Just bolt."
If you're gonna imagine that, if you're gonna steal a bunch of groceries, you think you wouldn't do it at an Aldi. You'd probably go for the high shelf stuff. I'd be doing it at like a Gilbert's.
They're running out. It's like, oh, well, the total of that whole basket was $7. We don't really give a fuck.
You can take all that, mate. That meat goes off tomorrow anyway.
Still what you want. Just stay out of the middle aisles, all right? Leave the vacuum cleaners.
Yeah. Dude, vacuum cleaners, and then right next to it has to be something that are either like Bluetooth headphones or like
surfboards and guitars.
Oh, man, how amazing is it?
Yeah.
If you want a one-stop shop for a bunch of stuff you probably don't need.
It's the Isle of Shame, and I love it.
Do you shop at Aldi?
Sometimes we do a little like late night Thursday trip. They've got some like, they're fucking cheap. Like their basics are cheap. And I love a trip down the middle aisle. I'm like, solar lights, $6. Yoink.
Yeah.
It's free.
Fucking nice.
Basically free. Do you?
I fuck with Aldi, man. I got to be honest. I've started doing some stuff in my last like probably 2 years of life where like I'm wearing Crocs. I'm going to Aldi.
Yeah.
I'm doing stuff that makes me feel bad, but at the same time, like it makes me feel good. But it's stuff I would have made fun of.
Lean into it, man. Lean into it.
How old are you?
31.
Yeah, so you're prime, right?
Like, I got a house and a dog. Like I'm penny pinching where I can, and I don't give a fuck. Yeah, I'm wearing. I'm not onto Crocs, but like Birkenstocks and socks. I don't. You know what? I don't give a damn. There, I said it.
Yeah, I like it.
Not a damn.
Would you?
Sorry if this podcast isn't into like bad words. Like damn. Sorry.
No, yeah, that's
you have to edit that out.
The shitting stuff was fine, but that you're taking it too far with that. But the thing about it is, as long as you're not at a point where you're wearing like matching flamingo shorts and button-up shirt Kmart combos at barbecues, I'm all right with it. But
you're kind of going to an effort there. I feel like there's merit in not like putting in any effort and being comfortable. Like that's where I'm at. It's like,
yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
like you like the shirt you're wearing it's just a white shirt, and it's just probably comfortable to wear. You're not feeling like it needs to be a name brand, high end.
Is that a really sophisticated way of saying I look like shit?
Mostly.
Well done.
Yeah.
It worked.
To be honest, it's more just like I feel like you're just like, you know how dudes in movies wear stuff like that and then it just looks like a normal shirt, but for some reason we feel like we need Gucci shirts. But someone wears like a white shirt in a movie and you're never like, oh, that guy has a shit shirt on. Like I think it's just like you look like you could be on a movie set and it would just be like a dude in a shirt. It would work. I don't think you need to overthink it. You don't look like shit. It doesn't look like a cheap Kmart shirt. Like how much was that shirt? Do you know?
This is actually this was a freebie from Lululemon, so probably way more expensive than it should be.
That's what I can tell by the stitching, right? It's something's going on.
It's very soft. Like feel that. Very, very fucking soft.
Dude, that's like a condom on your body.
I know. It's just soft tees.
Yeah. I actually like that, but I'm big on that. 100% cotton is where I live. I need to. So some people want to be cool and be like Jason Statham, but like I've got like dermatitis. Like I can't, you know what I mean? I'm never going to be that cool. But I mean, I try to be. But the other thing that I want to try and do on this podcast is to find out a little bit more about, I guess, as the process, you obviously been doing all the videos with the fellas, which we totally got sidetracked on it and talked about some everyday stuff that people were like.
Really important things like shits.
Yeah. And people were just like, when the fuck are they going to get back on the topic of comedy? But you have obviously done some videos with other groups now. I'm curious, and I'm assuming that you guys contacted them or Josh kind of was doing it to begin with, but like the Fairbairn guys, like how did that happen?
Well, normally because we're very isolated in Perth, we're like the only there's not many creators in Perth doing what we do. So whenever we travel or someone travels to us, like we'll always try team up with another like-minded, similar like comedy group because people like it. Like they like seeing two groups they follow making shit together. You like expose yourself to their followers and they expose themselves to ours. So there's a bit of like growth opportunity, especially when like a lot of the like Fairbairn guys that we do stuff with, Swag Boy, Swag on the Beat guys that we do stuff with, like they're way bigger than us. So we'll often like we'll be in Melbourne and hit them up and be like, hey guys, we've got this idea. Like, are you guys keen? And like everyone's always like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's do it. So, doing stuff with other guys and seeing how they operate is awesome. Like, love it. Like everyone we meet is like so fucking funny. I'm like, everyone's so talented in that space that at least the people that like we've worked with, like, but yeah, it's always fun to collab.
What's the creative process like? Like, is it jarring in any way with any of those guys? Like, did any of them do anything completely different or like?
Oh, like people definitely have different methods, but it kind of depends whose idea is, like we normally come with an idea and we'll film it and they're always like, yeah, we'll do like whatever you want because we're editing it and we're going to post it. But then if they're like, oh, we have this idea and then it's like, cool, go for it. We'll throw in extra lines, but you'd never be like, if someone's pitched an idea, it's like, it's their idea, like we have, I won't like name or anything, but like, sometimes you make videos with people and they're like trying to insert their own character and themselves into it a little bit too much or something. And you're a little bit like, oh fuck. Like it's not bad. Like, but sometimes you can just clash with where you think a skit is going and, you have an idea of how it's going to edit and how it's going to come out. And this other person is trying to do it their own way, and it can be tricky sometimes. But for the most part, like people we've worked with have been awesome, and seeing how they do stuff is great.
Mm. Yeah, I like that. I think it's cool because it must have been. We only see this side of it, so you like wonder, and especially people like. I was trying to remember their names or whatever, Jackson and the Fairbairn guys.
Yeah.
They're pretty different to you, like we mentioned before. Some of their stuff's like pretty just like straight faced and not really like edited much. And
for sure.
So like at what point have you guys done stuff with Frenchie? Is that right? Or have I got that
we've
wrong?
done stuff with Frenchie. Yeah.
And so like at that point, like I guess you just wonder because like to me, I guess I've seen some of Frenchie stuff and then like, but you I don't know, the way you guys is a little bit different, but I guess maybe it's just because more the content of what you guys do. Sometimes it's more like government based or like more sports and stuff like that.
Sure.
So like you always kind of wonder like, how do they find the middle ground or how are they going to do? But I guess it's as simple as kind of like you said. But then to me before you were like, oh, we write scripts. So to some of these guys, like kind of, you don't have to be specific, but to some of them like not do any of that and are just like, no, we wing everything. And then you have to kind of go back to that way of doing it.
Oh, totally. Like we did videos with like Will Gibb, another comedian, like redhead comedian, and Fairbairn boys, and they were just like, I remember doing a skit when they were in Perth, and they were just like, they were like gobsmacked at the amount of like prep and like mainly like Josh's sort of filming methods that he went to kind of capture this skit. They were like, what the fuck? They were just like, man, we just hit record and like wing it. Whereas like, we find what works best is like have a full fucking thing written out, have the ending, know what it's going to look like. But that's all like our skits are also so narrative heavy and like layered that you kind of need to do that. But like, yeah, everyone has like such vastly different ways of going about it for sure.
You see it ever like becoming more of a thing, I guess, because especially because you guys do it that way. Can you ever see it becoming more of a thing where like, I don't know how you do it these, right? Television's not really a thing like it used to be, right? But like, I guess like to an extent, would you guys ever take, especially if you maybe did it more full time, would you ever get to a point where you think, maybe I'll compare it to like Super Wog?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the goal would be like some kind of web series. I don't think there's like much in, I don't think there's much in like TV at the moment. I don't think there's like any money in TV at the moment. But like web series is like a huge kind of goal, like have like a really polished product. Like the Fairbairn guys have done a web series and it's like, it's fucking funny. It's really cool and it's super polished video like series. Obviously like Auntie Donna had like a Netflix series and then an ABC series, and they're like the gods in the industry. Is like Auntie Donna is just like, they're the funniest, most successful. They're like the geniuses. At least how like I and like a lot of like Josh looks up to them as well. It's just like they are the pros, and that like they've made it as on like Netflix and shit. Like that would be awesome. Something like that. Obviously, we're doing live shows at the moment as well, which is really cool. And I think that's another like space we can grow is like live comedy, different beasts, and it's challenging. But that's really fun. Actually, buy a ticket if you want. We've got a Sydney and Melbourne show coming up in a few weeks. If you want to come along, there's still some tickets floating around.
Plug it. Yeah. It must be such a weird thing though, going from your videos, obviously really fast paced and all that sort of stuff, like live. It's a very different thing. How do you 100%.
Find it? So the live is like, it's more catered towards podcast audience. Like the idea is that like anyone can come in and hopefully enjoy it, but it's more like the Kick It Forward podcast live rather than it is like live skits. I think that's another skill level that we don't really have is like live skits. I think that's really fucking hard. So we do this like live podcast, but we don't just sit there and record a podcast. Like there's a lot of audio visual elements. Like there's a little bit of like acting out like line, there's like a lot of it's rehearsed and shit like that. A lot of like crowd interaction and So the last one we did in Adelaide, just to give you an idea of like how fucked it can be, is like we had this show in Adelaide. We get to the venue and our show is very cue heavy, like tech heavy. So we have about 200 audio visual cues in our show that jokes rely on, like you say something and then we need something to play on screen as the punchline, or we need a sound to play that is the punchline to a joke. We have about 200 cues for lighting, sound, audio. We get to the venue an hour before the show and we've got the tech guy supplied to us by the venue. And he's this 7-year-old bloke. Bless him. He was like the most lovely guy ever. But we're like, cool. Hey, mate. And he's like, boys, don't worry. I've done over 1,000 shows. I'm like, awesome. Do you know how to use QLab? And he's like, nah, we normally use like a slideshow. And we were just like, okay. So, all right, this guy's, and like, you couldn't have picked a guy like less equipped to learn this program. And it's like half an hour before the show and Josh is going through and he's like, all right, so when we say this, here's the number of the cue you need to press. And he just like couldn't wrap his head around it. So we're like half an hour before the show and we're staring down the barrel of just like, this is completely fucked. Me and Harry are looking at each other and we're like, what are we going to do? Like, this guy doesn't know how to use this program at all. And we just had to turn it into like part of the show that where we had this AV guy that had no idea what he was doing, to the point where we're like doing a segment and we'd call out like, oh, Tony, can you play Q 152, please? No, not that one. Go back to, and like, this is live on stage and people like finding it funny to the point where after they were like, that was part of the show, right? And you're like, no. He was genuinely had no idea what he was doing. So shit like that you don't account for. Sorry, that's a big tangent of just like the last show we did that was so stressful, but it was actually really fun in the end and it was fucking hilarious because we were just taking the piss the whole time. But that's something we can definitely grow, is like live shows. The most we've done is like 300 seats. But we have like a pretty strong podcast following. So I don't know. People seem to get around that kind of thing, which is cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, podcasts is like huge now, right? Like, it's a big, and it's low effort for people. Like, so it's a good place for them to be introduced to you, and then a little bit further, and like that's when they would be like, because we talked about attention spans before, and someone brought this up the other day, and it was funny because I spoke to a guy who does like fitness stuff, and he was like, I don't actually think people's attention spans are shorter, and I was like, oh no, they are, right? Like, we're all like, yeah, no, they TikTok and stuff, and he was like, not really. He's like, because one of the biggest platforms is still YouTube, and YouTube's long format, and people watch 45-minute videos on there.
I think they've just changed. Like, I think they're shorter in the context of consuming media online. Yeah. Like if you're on TikTok, if you're not hooked in a matter of seconds, like, you're going to move on because the next video is like a swipe away kind of thing. Whereas like, I think YouTube, you're not on there for like, or at least most people like are happy to watch long form and take a bit longer to get into shit on YouTube. It's kind of like what you sign up for when you're browsing on YouTube. Otherwise, you just go to TikTok or Instagram Shorts and Reels and shit like that, you know?
Oh, yeah. I got pretty addicted to YouTube Shorts and find myself just like, I'd be like watching them, and then all of a sudden I've watched like 3 separate 17-second clips from Prison Break, and I'm like, the show actually wasn't bad. And then I'm like, nah, what am I doing? This is getting out of hand.
And then you check the time and it's like, it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. You're like, what the, like,
and fuck. You're sitting on the toilet and you have like no feeling in your feet whatsoever. And you're like, oh, a day's passed. I haven't eaten. Where am I?
How am I going to stand and wipe?
Yeah. But you're like, man, I consume some good media though. Let me tell you.
Yeah. And your brain feels like sort of radiation-y. I get that sometimes where I'm like, I've got like a headache, but it feels different than normal. I'm like, man, this isn't good. But did you ever like, is there any comedians where you like want to work with them one day? Is there anyone that you love what they do and you'd love to?
Oh, good question. I think, do you know Sam Campbell? He's an Aussie comedian that's killing it in the UK now. He's on He's on a bunch of shows in the UK. Would I Lie to You? He's this Aussie comedian that is just like so funny. He'd be awesome to work with. Honestly, like Hamish and Andy would be amazing to do something with. Trying to think, who else do we like? What? There's a couple like American guys. Friday Beers.
Dude, I was going to mention them.
Friday Beers, like, so Harry and Josh were in the US last year for some like NFL stuff they got sent to. And they got to go to like the Friday Beers studios, hoping to maybe make something with the guys, and like didn't really happen. It just ended up being like a bit of a tour, but like they're people who would just be like incredible to work with. They're so fucking funny.
Their content is amazing.
Like that's kind of like what we watch, and we're like, we should try and do the Australian version of that, like the tangents they go on and like the layers. Oh, it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, but it's the production's the craziest bit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like how, like, I don't know, like this is where it's hard, because this is where we can move into, and this someone probably thought like, oh, this is going to be like a hilarious podcast, and we've probably just been a bit more serious than people were expecting. But I really wanted to get to know Giorgio. I wanted to get deep, because if anyone wants to listen to you be funny, they can do that.
You can try.
They can try, yeah. Oh, it's hit and miss probably. Harold's better, but no, like the thing I was gonna like, so yeah. So with the like production quality side of things, obviously that's like a part of it. But you guys just do, obviously it's like all on an iPhone, and it's like all done that way. So I guess for other people that might be like considering creating something, this is probably fairly inspiring for people to know, like, I do stuff with better camera quality, and this is better camera quality, and I like that. But to an extent, the amount of times I've probably just wanted to do what you guys have done, and then like you just stop yourself, right? Oh no, I'll just be stupid. Like no one will like it. But you guys just literally did it, right? One day.
Yeah, for sure. Like I don't know if how like qualified I am to talk to, you know, kind of motivational side of things, and probably a lot of things that are stopping people is probably being like, oh, but like, am I going to get laughed at? Like, is it going to be embarrassing? But like, I don't know, back yourself in. If you think something's funny, like odds are someone might, lots of people might not. Just fucking like make a video and then make another, and like all those algorithms in the end, like they value like quantity anyway. But yeah, start somewhere. Just write shit down, write jokes down. And yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like Josh was always like the big driver in our group of kind of, we'd have an idea and he'd be like, and our ideas were good, and he'd be like, sweet, I'm coming over tomorrow, let's film it. You'd be like, yep. And that's like kind of the thing we needed. And, you know, he valued our ideas and our concepts and, you know, jokes and shit like that. And now we're all kind of to the point where like, we don't give a fuck. You know, we'll go to a shopping center and yell out profanities for the sake of a skit, and you kind of stop caring. And but it's easy to say because like, you know, we've got a following now, and we know that like people back us in.
So like, because I know what you mean with that. Like, right, it's when you say, because you're already there, so it's a lot easier. There's that,
for sure.
There's that point where it's like, all right, yeah, now we can get away with a little bit more. And like the Friday Beers guys are interesting because I don't know if they made a lot of stuff first and they maybe deleted it, and then now they have like, because they don't have that many videos. But I know what you're saying there, but I guess to an extent as well, there's that side of it of like when you said like, oh, just people going to laugh at it. Like people forget as well, that people forget shit so quickly that like the idea of being worried about that, and it's kind of silly in itself to an extent. Because
man,
people,
for sure.
yeah.
And if someone's laughing at your shit or making fun of your shit, like that's probably a reflection of their own insecurities and like them not being able to do something they want to do. Like, fuck, like go for it. Like, I don't know. If you want to do it, like, just do it. Shia LaBeouf. I'm trying so hard not to say just do it and be Shia LaBeouf. But
we'll edit it in.
But yeah, man, for sure. Like, oh God, you're always going to be criticized by someone. But again, it's a reflection of themselves, not what you're doing. I don't know. Yeah. Don't try and make make something you think like others are going to appreciate if you don't. Like, does that make sense? Like, make something you think's going to be funny, and odds are, I don't know. Yeah, that's how you're going to get the most out of it, I think.
That's where the idea comes from initially, anyway, right? Because you
Yeah,
wouldn't
for
make
sure.
it if you didn't think it was funny.
Exactly, and it's like, well, I think this is funny, and it's and you develop it from there. And there's always an element of like, how is it going to be received? But you need to believe in it yourself, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the thing, because I've always done a bit of a speed round on these podcasts, which I've always found funny, but maybe some people don't. So now we can use this time to do it as well, because I can put you on the spot with some things, and something creative might happen from it.
All right. Okay.
So I try to switch up the questions every single time I try to do it, but the one I always reoccurringly like is good because there's always a dumb fucking answer to it. It's funny. Like, if you're, and I heard this somewhere once and I can't remember, but if your belly button was a real button, what would it do? What would it be its function? Because it can do anything. You can choose.
What about just like dispense a Pez from my mouth?
If that's what you want to go for, from the mouth, would it land in your mouth, or would it come out and then you would
I think it like spits it out, or like it offers it, like a Pez does.
So you could even give it to someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the most, because obviously you could like save world hunger, but just the Pez thing.
Oh, is it what I want the most?
It could just be whatever, but I mean, that seems fairly small time. But if that's what fills your cup, maybe.
World hunger. I do like Pez.
I like it too. That's understandably. Yeah. What would you go for? What flavor?
I don't know. Do they have flavors?
I don't think so. Oh, here's a crazy one. Do Fruit Loops have flavors? Fucking no way.
No way.
They don't taste different.
100%. They're the same fucking this fruit flavor.
But
fruit spelled FROOT, specifically that flavor.
Yeah, well, fruit. Yeah, like fruit with like an extra chromosome. There's like, but the fruit, like fruit doesn't taste like that either. It's the thing we were talking about before.
Yeah, that's just like artificial sweet kiddie lolly flavor.
Yeah, and then the milk afterwards.
Fucking hell, that milk,
you'd be for it, eh? You're hell for the milk.
Fuck, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Post Fruit Loop milk, post crunchy nut milk, post nut milk. Yeah, they're some of the best post cereal milks. Sorry, this is another tangent.
I like it.
Back to the button question. What's yours?
Because I've always been the guy that's like more buttons, but you know, where would you put them? But I think for me, I kind of like the idea that I love teleportation. I've always thought that would just be the most useful thing ever.
More useful than a Pez?
Maybe as useful. Like if you could put
Could I change my answer?
No, you said it now. Because this is what I mean. Can you imagine that? Imagine you're like, it's like when people go to jail and they get done for like camcordering like the Dallas Buyers Club or something. And imagine that next to a guy who killed someone. So someone asked this and you're like, yeah, I can dispense Pez. And then they're like, what did you choose?
Oh, you chose that? Yeah, it was kind of on a whim. Like, I didn't really think about it much. First thing that came to my head. What'd you do? Oh, solve world hunger. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But so you can't get Pez, or
you're like,
I can get it from the shops. I think you can get it from the shops.
Oh, that's really impressive.
You go to the shops.
Well, you can sell, you can solve world hunger, but not with Pez. Yeah, I get it. But
fuck it. I'm standing by my Pez.
Here's the thing, right? The world hunger thing is like, I can't do anything in front of anyone. It's like having a magic power, but I can't show them. Where you can be like, yeah, fucking bang. Here's some Pez.
You'd need to.
Would your fucking head open though?
Yeah, like tilt back 100%.
Yeah,
I was going to say, like, you wouldn't solve world hunger. Like, if you were on social media, you'd be like, you'd have to film yourself solving world hunger, right? Otherwise, you probably wouldn't do it. You know those people that, like, they go up to people on the street, it's like, yo, this is about to be the greatest day of your life. I'm going to give you $200 and I'm going to take you for a haircut and we're going to get you all showered. And the guy said, oh my God, thank you so much. And he's like, yeah, just smile into the camera and say all that. And it's kind of like, man, you're literally just doing that for followers. You don't give a fuck about this person.
The worst thing. I just want the day when they just literally go up to a guy and they're like, man, we'll give you all this. And he's like, I'm just honestly trying to fucking do some heroin and you're like annoying the shit out of me. I don't want a haircut.
Or he's like, yeah, I'll accept all that if you don't fucking film it.
Yeah,
and watch him just be like, "Oh fuck, fuck off, you homeless bum."
Yeah, I'll just wait for the film where they're giving the pizza and they're like, "Oh yeah," and then the guy he's like, "Cut!" And he's like, "Give me that fucking pizza."
Yeah, give me that
back."
pizza. Give me $100 back.
Yeah, you fucking bum. Like,
You fucking bum.
Well, we can't forget the bum fights existed. Do you remember that? That was a thing, right?
A World Star. Was that all over?
Nah, bum fights. You don't remember that? There was like a dude who did it in like America, and he would and they ended up having like characters where they'd be like a bum with like silver teeth or whatever, and his name would be like Ronnie, and then they'd lube up street poles and put like $20 at the top of it and make him like fight to get up the top of the poles.
Oh my God.
It was hectic. And then the guy that made it got called out by Dr. Phil and then went on Dr. Phil dressed as Dr. Phil, and they kicked him off. You've got to look it up.
Oh, I'm doing a deep dive into it. See, it's this kind of content is like our podcast gold, like niche, weird, like rabbit holes to go down. That's awesome. I'm going to get you to send that to me after.
Dude, I'll send it to you. It's gold. Like they literally wouldn't even, this is the funniest part. They got him out. He's dressed as Dr. Phil. So they knew he was dressed as him. And Dr. Phil comes out and there's this big thing and the intro's there and everything. And then Dr. Phil just goes, nah. Fuck this guy. I don't like it. And then he's like, just fucking talk to me. And they're like, nah. And then they just take him out. And you're like, why would you even?
So Dr. Phil walks out.
Dr. Phil, they gets the security, grab this guy and take him out.
Dr. Phil.
Yeah. If Dr. Phil can't handle it, then yeah, I mean, you're doing something.
What do you reckon Dr. Phil would be called if he wasn't a doctor?
Mr. Phil?
Mr. Phil.
It had to be the next logical. You know what I mean?
I was going to say Phil, but I suppose if it's his last name, it has to be Dr. Phil. Mr. Phil. Yeah,
He'd be Mr. Phil.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's one of the funniest ones for me because you know who's funny? Dr. Oz is funny. He's another one because he just does like food stuff, but then it's really always like super aggressive and it's always like this diet sucks and this diet's good. And then there's people clapping in and it's just, to me, it's that kind of like television's hilarious to me. Like Jeremy Kyle and like all those people, they're all just like, it's just garbage, you know what I mean?
only have memories of watching that stuff when I was sick. It was like, you'd be sick from school and you'd turn on the TV. You're like, well, it's either Blue's Clues or Dr. Phil and Maury Povich.
Is that the You Are Not the Father one?
Yeah.
That was the shit.
Be like, oh, fuck, I'm not fucking going to school tomorrow. I'm watching more fucking Maury Povich.
Dude, when they'd like lose it, when they found out and like dance.
And then there's all the social media skits.
Yeah.
Like
It's
people
amazing.
going berserk, like, you're not the father. And they're like, ah. They're just like going nuts.
It's amazing too because it's like, it's not even like they could tell them separately. But they've got to tell them in front of the mum.
Well, that wouldn't be good TV, would it?
It wouldn't be. It wouldn't be good. My funniest thing was like even all the TV shows that used to be on like MTV and shit. There used to be this one called Next. Like Next was the
Next. Yeah.
Do you remember it?
I remember. I can like picture what it looks like. It was a dating one, right?
Dude.
Where they get to pick.
Holly's trying to find her perfect partner, and she'd be like, I just really want a guy like surfing and just wants to live in a big house with me and shit. And she'd always be the most unappealing fucking person on the planet. And then there'd be like a bus and he'd get off and he'd have like frosted tips or something. And then she'd be like, next. And then he'd win like $3 or something. But he could never be like, oh, fair enough. Like, all good. Like, I'm not your kind. Like, I'll just take the $3. Like,
well, he wouldn't be on the show.
Yeah. No, he's going to always be like, she was fucking ugly anyway.
Yo, you know? I was actually going to say no to her first, but I didn't have the mic on me. You know what's how funny is like when they come out and there's like, you know, it's a chick on a dating show. So she's like clearly very shallow and a bloke gets off the bus and he's like overweight. And she's just like, next. And everyone's just like, oh, well, it's because you thought he was fat. And she's like trying to justify. She'll be like, yeah, I just didn't vibe with him. Like he liked Pepsi Max and I like Coca-Cola. So there was just no, it's like, you think he's fat and you're unattracted to him.
100%. They'd always try and do it as well. Like it would just, oh man, every single time. Like, he reminded me of my dad. Like, you know, something like that. You're like, fucking come on now. Like, you look like the lead singer of Smash Mouth. Just say it. Like,
yeah. Oh, it's weird that you went with that chiseled 10 out of 10 guy who like couldn't talk any like more than 3-syllable
His
words.
name's like Brett, and he's just
Yeah,
like,
like,
sweet.
I like football. Yeah, and we can go get like pizza in the pier later. And she's like, oh my God, me and Brett vibed. It's like, no, you fucking didn't.
They'll go on the date. You know, there was always like a weird date that they clearly didn't set up, like either of them.
Yeah.
He'll like take her bowling and he can't fucking even play. She was like, I just thought it was really thoughtful that he wanted to take me bowling. And you're just watching this show and you're like, this is vomit. Oh, they did it with Parental Control was another one. And like there was just so many, man, that was just like the most garbage that you've ever seen. But I've probably watched all of them. I probably watched the most of them. There was another one, another YouTube thing that I can, I'll get you onto. A guy named Cody Co did a video on it, and it was this show. I'll find out what it's called, but it's hosted by a guy named Mark Wahlberg that isn't Mark Wahlberg, and it's called, I think it's called like Truth or Dare or something, or Truth something.
Yeah, nice.
And they will just ask, like, it'll just be this show where they'll be talking, and it'll be like a chick. Here's Stacy's sister, and she'll be like, hi, and they'll be like, here's her mother and her father, and they're all there, and like, here's their partner Joey and his friend Todd. And Todd's like, fuck yeah, Joey's so cool. And they're like, it's so bad. And then he's like, truth, you get like 10 grand if you answer this question. You know, sometimes when you're alone, do you just like, not clean anything and then blame it on Joey? And then everyone's like, ooh. And she's like,
oh my
God. Yeah. And then it'll be like, all right, you win the 10 grand because you told truth, whatever. And then literally the next question will be like, have you ever thought about sucking Todd's dick? And she'll be like, and everyone's like, looking at her like Joey's like, have you fucking? And she's like, it's 20 grand. And he's like, we'll just answer it because like you'll be honest, right, babe? And then she's like, yeah, and everyone's like, ooh. And then, like, I'm not even joking, man. It'll be like, have you ever thought that your mother doesn't really love your father? And, like, it would just go on, but they keep increasing the money to, like, 100 grand.
Oh, my God.
It only lasted for one season, but, like, sometimes it'll be like, one chick worked at a shop, and it was like, it completely veered off from the family, and then was like, have you ever embezzled $15,000 from the place that you work? And
did you ever murder your father-in-law who's buried somewhere?
It gets to that point, and you're
She's
like,
how much?
But yeah, 75.
Yeah, no, it's me.
I fucking killed that guy for sure, 100%. But I mean, like, that's the thing. TVs are funny, and like you said, it's not much of a thing now. And now they try to still make it a thing, but I can't. I don't think with the last time I actually watched television. I don't know. Do you guys still watch it?
No, fuck no. No, I don't consume it in any way, to be honest.
Well, then here's one for you because we got off the speed
round.
Hey,
this is a really good speed round.
Yeah.
How long was that first answer? 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's mainly your fault.
I don't want to know I don't want to know what the slow round questions are.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, it would just you'd only get one. It's just not even a round.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Yeah. Well, I will start.
What's
now.
your greatest fear? And go. You've got 168 hours to reply.
There's so many things I could do to find out. My greatest fear, if we're being completely honest with it, is when I'm on the toilet. If a video comes up on my phone and there's water, I have to like get away from the video of water because I feel like, I don't know, like a shark's gonna like jump out of the water into my ass or something. I don't know what it is.
Wait, that is so specific. You can't look at any videos with water.
Yeah, like if I'm
on the toilet.
Yeah, like if one comes up and it's like those videos where some guy will be swimming and then he'll go under the water and see like a shark swimming. I don't know what it is. Like I have to get away from it. Yeah.
Greatest fear. I
guess the greatest fear is actually being in the water. But
I was going to say.
I never come that close.
I was like, if that's your greatest fear, like, you must not be scared of many things.
Oh, no, being on fire, that would be...
That sounds scarier than seeing water on your phone while you're taking a shit, to be fair.
I was just trying to make it more relatable. What's your greatest fear?
Really relatable. Dying alone.
Is it actually?
There, I said it.
Oh, okay. You mean dying because you're not in a relationship or dying physically alone?
I'm fucking with you. I don't know. Greatest fear. Oh, man, sharks. I fucking hate sharks. I'll still like surf and swim, but sharks. Sharks terrifying. What else? Oh. Yeah, nah, sharks is the one that come to mind.
They're generally in the water, which is why the toilet thing. You get it.
They're in the toilet as well.
They could be. Do you ever just feel like someone's going to their hand's going to come out of the toilet into your ass or something? I don't know. I never have that specific fear, but
yeah.
Here's the thing. You'll be on the toilet now
Yeah, well, now I will.
It'll happen, and you'll be like, I just better check that there's no one down there, just in case, because you never know. Like
Maybe.
maybe that's like a thing. Maybe that's an emotional, deep-seated thing I haven't addressed.
If there is, just make sure you wipe from back to front.
Yeah.
Not front to back.
Well, they're not going to put their hand anywhere if there's shit all over your balls, right?
Hey, whoa. What are you doing scrunching down there?
Yeah. Hey, you fucking settle down.
I'm glad we circled back to this.
I'm glad that we did as well. It's a good way to kind of finish off the pod. But I got a couple more. Otherwise, the speed round was unsuccessful, even though it already kind of was. If you could spend the day with any person ever, you'll sleep some of it, I suppose, maybe 16 hours, with anyone ever, and there's no one else there. It's just like you and this person, and it can be wherever you want. They don't have to be alive, and they don't even have to be real. It can be a fictional person, but you could just hang out with someone for that period of time.
Bro, you.
That's pretty deep.
Nah, okay. It can be a fictional person. So it could be like fucking SpongeBob SquarePants. Let's go. 24 hours with SpongeBob. What do you got?
What are you in water, or is he out of it though? Because both seem detrimental.
That's a good point. Let me think again. Gandalf.
Really?
That'd be sick. He'd never a fucking dull day with Gandalf.
It's not a bad, interesting answer.
Jesus
would be pretty sick.
Jesus is a good one. He's a carpenter, actually. It'd be boring as fuck.
Depends on what he's doing.
He'd be like, bro, I've got a job at 8. I've got to fix this. I got to fix this roof down the road. It's a mess. It's going to take me 3 hours. You can hang around if you want.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, are you going to do any miracles? He's like, dude, it's a fucking Tuesday. I've got to work.
100%. He's like, dude, like after this job, I've got a fucking table for 12.
I got to, Although I'm going to seat them all around one side and not explain it.
That's a fucking good point that I never thought of. Why? Why do they do that?
Hey, Jesus, can we go all the way around the table? He's like, I don't know why. Let's just all sit around this side.
Not that anyone...
And why are we called... Why do you guys keep saying the Last Supper? What the fuck? What do you mean by that?
Seems presumptuous.
Yeah. He's like, well, what do you mean the last one? Like, what about tomorrow? Yeah, I don't know. Sorry.
It's a good point.
Jesus, maybe, I don't know. Maybe that would be actually really boring if he's not doing his miracle stuff.
Probably not. He's just like 24/7, right?
He's just like installing floorboards.
Yeah, but all the water he touches would turn to wine, and he'd have to hydrate because they were in like Jerusalem. Where is he? Jerusalem? That's not where they were. Where was he?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, Jerusalem.
Yeah, so it seems pretty hot there, right? He must want to drink water, but does every time he touch it, it turns into wine? Is that something you can turn on and off? Or
I think you'd have to be able to turn that on and off.
Fuck. Yeah, I don't know.
He'd have some pretty severe mental implications if he was drinking wine as a baby.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, even the breast milk would turn into wine. There's water in the wine, though. Maybe breast milk stayed, maybe normal milk stayed milk. Fruit Loop milk would have just been Fruit Loop milk.
Fruit Loop milk.
Yeah.
Really common in the Bible, Fruit Loops. Well, they talk about them a lot.
To be honest, there's some other stuff in there that probably shouldn't be. So
probably more wild than Fruit Loops.
Definitely more wild than
Fruit Loops. Who's your who are you spending 24 hours with?
I would never live up to someone said Hitler once, and it's the worst answer I've ever had. And it was so hard to create a conversation after that. So you gave a good one.
Wow, Hitler.
It was like, I just want to see like how he would think. And I was like, why? But fair enough.
Hitler, okay, very important question. At what point in Hitler's life are you spending 24 hours with him? Because that's a problematic answer, isn't it?
Not the last 24 hours for sure.
9, thank you.
Yeah.
9, Dunker. Not for me.
Nice. I see what you. I mean, I don't really have to. I mean, an answer's hard. I always think of actors, which is silly because I shouldn't think of actors, but there's people. I don't know. Maybe Morgan Freeman, but he would have to narrate the day that we're hanging out. I would want him to narrate what I'm doing.
Would you? Okay. Would you give him your best Morgan Freeman impression?
I'm not good at Morgan. Do you have an impression? I can't do
no,
Morgan.
I've never Morgan Freeman. No, not really.
Yeah, you tried though.
Tried, yeah. You can always try.
I can do one word of Christopher Walken.
Oh, yeah, go on.
No.
That's it. Oh, yeah, children, gather closer. Don't make me repeat the part about the scooching.
That's
The Simpsons.
the scooching, that word kind of works. Scooch. Yeah. I mean, I just do the one word and then people will, that's
good.
You don't even have to keep going. You know what I mean?
Well, that's where you kind of like, I know when we do impressions, you'll like pick one word and you kind of like go out from there.
Yeah, like people do Matthew McConaughey, it's like all right, or Owen Wilson's
exactly.
It's all the same sort of stuff. Can you see you guys ever trying to make different characters in the comedy that you do, like dressing up and being different versions? Because you always play yourselves. I didn't think about that.
We play like, I don't know, we do it like, we fuck around with like accents and being people from like different countries. But it's probably something we need to do more, is like explore that range of like acting different people and stuff like that. Like some of the top comedy groups, like their range of people they can pretend to be is like so fucking impressive. Like Auntie Donna, I don't know, watch some of Auntie Donna and you're just like, holy fuck. And then you, we've done some stuff with them and you're just like in awe of how fucking funny they are. And
well, you've done some stuff with them.
Oh, so briefly. Only Broden. We did like a skit with Broden once as part of this like mega skit with all these people in Melbourne. It was hell funny. And everyone was just like, Broden would just say like one word and everyone was just like on the verge of like pissing themselves laughing.
Really?
That kind of effect. Yeah. No, it's hard to explain, but you see it live and you're like, fucking hell, I don't know why that's so funny.
Wow. That's crazy, man, to be in that sort of, I just like that it's becoming more of a thing because people, you like being younger, you just think like being an actor or getting into filmmaking, anything, you just don't think you can, right? It's like, oh, that'll just be way too hard. But now social media has changed everything. It's
pretty cool, like the amount of avenues there are to create stuff and like put it out. It's like we feel, at least like I feel so lucky that like we have what we have and like we can use the platforms and stuff like that. When 10 years ago, it's just like, where would you even start? Like you just, get into like acting and then like YouTube was around, I guess. Oh, mate, 10 years ago is probably too recent, but like, 15 years ago, it'd be like YouTube or like what else?
Yeah, I know. Is it like Whopper or something? You were like, that's not going to
happen. Yeah, but then you're kind of getting into like, I don't know, it's not like you can go and record a skit with mates and release it. So yeah, it's very cool to live in this. And it's so like quickly changing. Like who knows, in 10 years time, maybe we're going to be completely irrelevant with no followers on any platform. But I don't know, at least we've got skills out of it.
Well, I mean, I'll just give you the old thing that like you 47-year-old like relatives would say, and just don't give up your day job.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you'll be right. Man, this has been probably what feels like the least structured podcast I've done, but I like it because I feel like we've been having genuine conversations and exploring various topics.
Yes, it's been great.
I've enjoyed it. It's probably different. It's different to the podcast that you would normally do. But I like, this is the thing for me. And as I mentioned to you before, just understanding different people and how they do things is a big thing for me, because I find that it's just not really something that happens in reality these days. I still have good conversations with people, but podcast puts a lot of emphasis on this conversation, and you're a lot more willing to, I guess, have a conversation and think. We're in Perth, like, you know, when you're out doing things, it's so easy to be distracted. And
for sure.
So this allowed us to kind of do that and explore what we feel about, you know, Fruit Loops and Aldi and shitting.
all the big topics.
Well, I feel like, you know, people feel probably more informed than when they began listening.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Absolutely. So I'll ask that, you know, obviously I'll say to anyone who's not aware by this point, kick it forward on Instagram. I mean, YouTube as well now. Facebook, you guys do Facebook?
No, we haven't really gone down the Facebook path. I don't think there's much in it. We're on Instagram, TikTok. So we got our main page, which is like videos. We've also got the Kick It Forward podcast. So we do a podcast as well that's very loosely sport based. But yeah.
That's where they can find you. And
yes.
And are you going to do any Perth shows so people can come to them?
We did our Perth show. So the first show we did was Perth, which was like mid-March. That was at the Rechabite. But, you know, I'm sure we'll do more shows and more stuff in the future for sure.
Yeah. Being that you're from here, you guys will probably do more here, you think? Or do you think you'll always try to make it like a tour?
Well, most of our most of our audience is in Melbourne, so like that's just like on a numbers thing, like that makes sense for us to do shows in Melbourne. But yeah, I think we have like a solid following in most of the main cities that we can fill a few hundred seats.
Yeah, sweet. Well, man, when you guys do another one, I'd love to. I've got a couple of mates who are really into shit. It'd be cool to come and like watch one of your shows. So we'll have to do so. So
love that.
As you know, as we were saying, if you haven't checked out the Kick It Forward podcast, do so. I pretty much gave everyone a shout out in the beginning, so I'm gonna leave it there. But I will say thanks again for coming on, man, and it was good to chat to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's
Cheers, Jacob.